You step outside into your yard, or perhaps you are just sitting quietly with your morning coffee near an open window and you hear it, a sharp, repetitive, grating sound echoing down from the canopy of the trees. To the untrained ear, it sounds like a small dog coughing, or perhaps a strange, distressed bird. Most people look up, see a squirrel flicking its tail aggressively on a branch, and dismiss the sound entirely. They assume it is just a nuisance, a wild animal making random noise over a dropped acorn, or a minor territorial dispute. But that assumption could not be more wrong. That bark is usually an alarm signal, not random noise. It is a real alarm call that helps signal danger, and if you are ignoring it, you are completely blind to a life or death drama unfolding right in front of you. To understand what is happening, you have to look at your yard through the eyes of a prey animal. The squirrel sitting on your fence post is not as bold as it looks. It is running a constant risk calculation. Every single moment of its life is dictated by the presence of danger. A feeding site that makes them feel weak, a sudden movement, or a prowling predator can mean the end of their life in an instant. When a squirrel barks in the open, it may be warning others or signaling that it has detected danger. It is giving an alarm that nearby animals can notice. That bark is the invisible architecture of your yard's survival network. If you do not understand what triggers it, you are missing the most profound conversations happening in your own backyard. Today, we are going to decode the exact meaning behind the squirrel bark. We will look at how this sound taps directly into a hidden cross-species communication network, how it changes based on the specific type of predator entering your property, and how your own daily habits might be the exact thing triggering the alarm. Stay until the very end, because the final reason a squirrel barks is a signal directed specifically at you, and understanding it will completely change the way you view your relationship with the animals living just outside your door. Number 1, the broadcast and the landscape of fear. When you hear that distinct, repetitive bark, the first thing you need to understand is that the squirrel has spotted something lethal, but the bark is not a panic response. It is a calculated broadcast. Animals communicate danger through avoidance behavior and alarm signals, creating what researchers call a landscape of fear. When a predator like an outdoor cat is allowed to patrol the perimeter of your property, it permanently alters this landscape. Even a well-fed cat that isn't hunting out of hunger will instinctively stalk wildlife. It doesn't have to actually make a kill to destroy your yard's reputation. The squirrel barking from the high branch of an oak tree is actively mapping that threat. By vocalizing, it is stripping the predator of its greatest weapon, the element of surprise. The bark can alert other animals, and in some cases may also let a predator know it has been spotted. Number 2, the cross-species alarm network. But the squirrel is not just talking to the predator, and it is not just warning other squirrels. It is talking to every living creature in your yard. Researchers have documented heterospecific eavesdropping, where one species listens to another species' alarm calls. The deliberate monitoring of other species' alarm calls to gather information about the environment. The animals in your yard are not operating as separate species with separate communication systems. They are operating as a mixed community with a shared early warning network. When a blue jay screams its piercing alarm call, every bird in your yard goes silent, and still within 2 seconds, treating it as a confirmed hawk sighting. Squirrels are deeply integrated into this exact same network. They listen to the sharp, staccato alarm calls of robins and the high-pitched warnings of chickadees, and those birds listen to them. When a squirrel begins to bark, it triggers a cascade of awareness. The sparrows retreat to the dense brush, the nuthatches freeze on the bark, and the entire yard shifts into a state of high alert. The squirrel is acting as part of the local alarm system. Number 3, encoding the exact threat level. Not all barks are identical, and this is where the cognitive brilliance of backyard wildlife truly reveals itself. Consider the black-capped chickadee. Research from the University of Washington showed that chickadee alarm calls can carry information about predator danger. Chickadee alarm calls can include more D notes, when danger is greater, especially in response to smaller, more dangerous predators. The call broadcasts exactly how dangerous the threat is and how the flock should respond. Squirrels utilize a similar strategy of threat level encoding in their vocalizations and body language. Some squirrel alarm calls and tail movements are associated with certain predator types, including ground threats like cats or a dog, a threat they can safely scold from the high ground. However, different predator types can trigger different squirrel responses. A barking squirrel might suddenly drop into total silence, flattening itself against the bark of a tree to become invisible. Just as birds go completely silent and still when a hawk or a hunting owl enters the area, squirrels understand that aerial predators require a completely different survival strategy. The sudden transition from loud barking to absolute, frozen silence is a confirmed signal that death is circling overhead. Number 4. Unpredictability and the reputation map. Sometimes the predator triggering the bark is not a hawk or a cat. Sometimes it is you. Backyard animals can absolutely adapt to a certain baseline level of human activity. They learn your routines. They know when you walk out to get the mail, and they learn the sounds of your specific household. But unpredictable noise and movement, a door slamming, sudden loud music, or erratic behavior are a different category entirely. Just like crows, squirrels build a highly detailed reputation map of the individuals and territories in their environment. When a yard is noisy, unpredictable, or lacks cover, squirrels may use it less. It becomes a place of unpredictable danger. If your yard behaves erratically, it is mapped as a threat, and that classification is extraordinarily difficult to reverse. When a squirrel barks at you, it is usually reacting to a perceived threat or disturbance. But there is a final layer to this communication, and it is the one that stays with people the longest. We have established that barking is an alarm, a signal of danger, unpredictability, and fear. But what does it mean when the barking stops? Research on birds in residential gardens found that individuals develop highly specific responses to the humans who share their territory. Animals that regularly sees the same person behaving non-threateningly, providing food consistently, and moving slowly will gradually reduce their alarm responses to that person specifically. They are tracking you individually, and they are updating their assessment of you every single day. Most people who set out food think of themselves as a mere supplier. They put out the nuts, the squirrel comes, transaction complete. But that is not what is happening. The squirrel that returns to the same yard season after season is making a choice. They have dozens, sometimes hundreds of yards in their territory, yet they come back to yours. They have assessed the risk, learned your face, mapped your routines, and decided that you are safe, not just your yard. When you step outside your back door with your morning coffee, and the squirrel in the oak tree does not bark, if it stays calm around you, that usually means it has learned you are not an immediate threat. The absence of the alarm call is a verdict. It means that despite millions of years of evolution telling them to fear human beings, they have learned that your presence is not currently dangerous. But that trust is fragile. If you stop showing up, if you remove all the natural cover, or if the yard gets too loud and unpredictable, that trust erodes. Not dramatically, not all at once, just quietly, visit by visit, until one day the yard is completely empty. When that happens, you didn't just lose an animal, you lost a relationship you didn't even know you were building. The wildlife that visits your yard looked at everything available to them, and they chose you. Take care of what they've given you. Fix the hazards in your yard. Embrace a little bit of strategic untidiness, and pay close attention to the alarm calls echoing through your trees tonight. The squirrel that visits tomorrow morning will have a better chance than it had today. Have you ever been outside when a squirrel started barking relentlessly? Or have you experienced that incredible moment when an animal realized you were safe and finally went quiet? Tell me in the comments.